everybody, and welcome back to the Pro Football Network YouTube channel. I am Dalton Miller, and you can find me on Twitter at Dalton B. Miller if you have any problems with the video I'm about to give you today. Now, today we are going to be talking about an under-25 NFL team. It's like an all-pro team for players under 25 years of age. But before we do that, make sure that you guys are liking this video. Make sure you guys are subscribing to the YouTube channel, and make sure that you guys are hitting the bell so you don't miss any of the content we have coming your way over the next couple of months and into the next NFL season. And trust me, the content will be never ending. Before we get into the video, let's lay the ground rules. Okay, first, these are 25-year-olds when the season starts. So if your birthday, if the player's birthday is August 15th and they turn 25 on August 15th, they are not a part of this list. You have to be under 25 years old when the season begins on September 8th. And without further ado, let's build this team. Let's go over the offensive and defensive structures for these teams, okay? The NFL lives in 11 personnel most of the time, so there's no reason in having 2 tight ends or a running back and a fullback. No. We're having a quarterback, a running back, and 3 wide receivers with 1 tight end on the offensive side of the ball. And on the defensive side of the ball, we have 2 edge rushers, 2 defensive tackles, 2 linebackers, 2 cornerbacks, and 2 safeties with a floating defensive back. And that floating defensive back in this instance ends up being a cornerback, but I could have gone with the safety, and I will tell you who that safety would have been if I would have gone that way in a little bit. First, let's get to the offensive side of the ball. Quarterback is Trevor Lawrence. And honestly, this one wasn't even close. There was no other competition for Trevor Lawrence. We haven't had quite the quarterback class last season that we had coming out with Trevor Lawrence's class. And even in that class, we haven't seen guys, Justin Fields, who still has a ton of potential. We haven't seen that class really round it out and become some of the better players, better quarterbacks in the league. Trevor Lawrence has started to become that, and that's why he's the quarterback on this under-25 football team. At running back, we have Jonathan Taylor. Now, I thought about Breece Hall here, but Breece Hall, even if he would have remained healthy, probably wouldn't have won the starting job here. Jonathan Taylor, at his size, his athleticism, his big play ability is truly unmatched at the NFL level. And that's why I have him as the running back for this football team. The first of the 3 wide receivers is, for my money, the best wide receiver in the NFL. That is Justin Jefferson, who is still under 25 years old. And you're going to see his teammate, or his former teammate, on here as well. But Justin Jefferson is the best all-around wide receiver in the NFL for my money. He's fantastic in the intermediate areas of the field. He is, in my opinion, the most deceptive route runner in the NFL, and his flexibility makes him that type of weapon, especially in the intermediate areas of the field where you really get to see guys show off their route running ability. My wide receiver number 2 is his former teammate from LSU, Ja'Marr Chase. And this was another no-brainer for me when I'm building a football team. And this is a little bit different from, choosing an all-pro team. I'm actually building a football team here. I'm trying to create an offense that builds off of one another. So instead of having guys like Justin Jefferson, Ja'Marr Chase, and, say somebody like T. Higgins, who is going to play on the outside as well, there's a bit of redundancy there. Now, Justin Jefferson and Ja'Marr Chase can move around on the inside, and so can T. Higgins. But I wanted to get 2 guys on the outside and 1 guy who can really thrive on the inside in the slot. Now, Ja'Marr Chase is a little bit different. He also can work in that intermediate area. He's also somebody who can take a slant for 80 yards. He's also arguably the best downfield receiving threat in the entire NFL. He's a fantastic downfield receiver, and that is the big reason why I have him on this football team here. My number 3 wide receiver, this was a very tough decision for me because CeeDee Lamb really showed out last year, but Jaylen Waddle's explosiveness just puts this offense, as it's constructed, on a whole other level. He can play on the outside, and honestly, he did play mostly on the outside in Mike McDaniel's offense last year, but he spent over 60% of the time as a rookie in the slot, and he will fit right into that slot role in this offense as well. There are other great receivers that could have been a part of this roster as well. It was very difficult to decide between them all. Amon-Ra St. Brown, T. Higgins, and CeeDee Lamb were three guys who really had consideration for one of those spots. I think that Chase and Jefferson are those two outside guys, and I think that that's pretty inarguable. I think that T. Higgins is a much better receiver than a lot of people give him credit for, and it's just because he plays on the same football field as Ja'Marr Chase. At tight end, this is another one that was pretty easy for me, and I know that some people, Steelers fans particularly, might be a little bit upset that Pat Freiermuth is not the pick here, but Kyle Pitts is the only answer. Because he missed some time last year, because the quarterback play in Atlanta was so atrocious last season, especially when targeting Kyle Pitts, that we forget he was one of only two ever tight ends to, as a rookie, post a 1,000-yard season. There have only been 12 rookie tight ends ever to have over 600 yards receiving. As soon as he gets good quarterback play, Kyle Pitts is going to be back over that 1,000-yard mark, and we are going to be discussing him as one of the best tight ends in the entire NFL. But the most difficult decisions on the offensive side of the ball came at left tackle and right tackle. At left tackle, we have guys like Rashawn Slater, we have guys like Jedrick Wills, and we also have guys like Andrew Thomas, all playing on the left side at an extremely high level. Andrew Thomas was fantastic last year, and although he struggled at the beginning of his rookie season, he really started to round things out towards the end of his rookie year and start to show the player that he could be. He was outstanding last year, but I cannot get over how impressive Rashawn Slater's tape was as a rookie and before the injury. And I know that he got injured very early in the season last year, but he was fantastic then as well. I think just based off of the tape, I would choose Rashawn Slater to be my left tackle of the future over Andrew Thomas, although I believe both of them have all pro caliber ability. And that is what made this so difficult, because it's not just on the left side of the ball with those two and Christian Narsal, who was also fantastic for the Minnesota Vikings last season, but it's on the right side as well with Tristan Wirfs and Penei Sewell. And listen, Tristan Wirfs might be, outside of Lane Johnson, the best right tackle in the NFL. Penei Sewell deserves his flowers as well. He just hasn't played that same consistent brand of football from day one, the same way that Tristan Wirfs has, and that's why he is the right tackle on this football team. Left guard, center, right guard, they're all very easy. The Philadelphia Eagles get their bid on the offensive side of the ball here with Landon Dickerson at center, Creed Humphrey. Creed Humphrey might be the second best player in the NFL under 25 years old, or the most dominant for his position, because no center arguably is better than Creed Humphrey is. And at right guard, you have Creed Humphrey's teammate, Trey Smith, who somehow, I assume because of injury, fell to the 6th round of the NFL draft. That is an offense that is going to move the ball at will. Obviously, it is the best team under 25, but not just that, and it shows the talent that there is at the NFL level right now. There's so much young talent that this team would absolutely smoke the rest of the NFL if they were to line up on Sundays. Now, creating the defensive depth chart was a little bit more grueling than the offensive side of the ball, partially because there was some really good competition, particularly in the secondary, but mostly because the talent's a little bit lacking on the defensive side of the ball in terms of the young guys. Now, it's important to note that all of the fantastic defensive tackles are all just over 25 years old. That is Quinnen Williams, that is Dexter Lawrence, and that is Jeffrey Simmons. All three of those gentlemen are over 25 years old and were not able to be picked or chosen for this football team. But starting off with the defense, we are starting with our edge one, quite possibly the best player in the entire NFL, Micah Parsons. An obvious selection. We don't even need to talk about it, but we do need to talk about edge two, because I had to go down the list of the top edge rushers in the NFL, and I had to really squint my eyes to find somebody that was under 25 on that list. The edge rushers in the NFL, it's such a technical ability that they have to have a little bit of experience for the most part. Jaelan Phillips is my edge two here. I think that he gives some versatility, and I think that with Vic Fangio and with the additions made to that defense, he is going to absolutely take off this year in his 3rd year as an NFL player. He joins other 3rd-year player Micah Parsons on the edge. 2nd-year player Jordan Davis is my defensive tackle number 1. And this isn't necessarily a number 1 or a number 2 defensive tackle thing. This is my nose tackle, Jordan Davis. And yes, he only played very few snaps last season. He got injured and he wasn't quite the guy that we thought he was going to be. But when you look at the defensive tackles that are under 25, we don't really understand. Defensive tackle is a position very much like tight end that it doesn't get talked about very often. But that learning curve from the college level to the NFL level is very, very steep. And it is very difficult for defensive tackles to progress at a very fast level at the NFL. You look at guys like Dexter Lawrence, you look at guys like Quentin Williams. Only Jeffrey Simmons was really able to pop off early in his NFL career. It took Quentin Williams a couple years. It took Dexter Lawrence a couple years before they became the elite players that they are today. I believe that is what Jordan Davis is going to be as a nose tackle for the Philadelphia Eagles in the coming future. My second defensive tackle, my 3-technique defensive tackle, is New England Patriots defensive tackle Christian Barmore. We forget about him a little bit, but I really wanted to look and search for somebody who offered pass rush ability on the defensive interior, and that doesn't really exist in the guys under 25 yet. Christian Barmore showed that as a rookie, but he wasn't able to play a full season last year, and he wasn't as productive when he was on the field a season ago. I think that he is the guy that I would choose over any others, but it was a very thin group on the defensive interior for guys under 25. The same goes for linebacker. The best linebackers in the NFL are usually closer to 30 than they are to 25. And it's just because it is such a quick mental trigger position that it takes a little bit of time to progress and be that natural processor on the second level. Nick Bolton, for me, is my linebacker 1 of this group, and Patrick Queen is the second guy in this group. Although I really had to be picky about this because there were not very many truly talented linebackers in the under 25 class. But that was certainly not the case at cornerback. My CB1, and I truly do believe this as CB1 and CB2, not just for the under 25 team, but in the entire NFL. The top corner in the NFL, in my opinion, is Patrick Surtain II. And my cornerback number 2 is Sauce Gardner. Both guys under 25. Sauce Gardner, as a rookie, was probably better. His tape was probably better than Patrick Surtain's was in his second year. But we have 2 years of Patrick Surtain being an all-pro caliber cornerback. We have 1 year with that of Sauce Gardner. His defensive rookie of the year. He is an unbelievable player, especially in Robert Saleh's defense. The way that he maintains his leverage in that zone scheme is phenomenal. Patrick Surtain makes the position look boring, and that is so hard to do at such a reactive position. Those are my top 2 guys, and honestly, flip a coin for who you believe is the better corner. But I got a little creative with my 3rd guy. I wanted somebody who I thought couldn't just survive in the slot, but thrive in the slot. And there are some very good slot particular players at the NFL level, but I went with the only rookie on this entire roster, Devon Witherspoon, Seattle cornerback. Again, much like the offensive side of the ball with Jaylen Waddle, there is a reason I didn't go with Tariq Woolen, because that would have given me 3 outside cornerbacks and I would have had to choose which one's playing in the slot. And honestly, I don't know out of those 3 guys who I would want playing in the slot. Devon Witherspoon is somebody who I want playing in the slot. And if I am Seattle, I am using him as a matchup weapon in my defense because I think that he can do it. I think that he brings the type of physicality, even though he is like right at that 180-pound mark. He is a little bit undersized. It was never an issue on tape for him at all. He is a missile against the run. I think he'd be fantastic in that role. He is a gnat in coverage. I think that he is also an intelligent coverage defender in zone. I think that he would be fantastic in the slot. That is why he makes the under 25 team, and that is why he is the only rookie on this entire team. Much like with cornerback, I went with more of a free safety and more of a strong safety as part of my safety tandem. I also looked at it like this. If I have Patrick Surtain II and I have Sauce Gardner and I have Devon Witherspoon, 3 guys that I think can really thrive and allow my defense to run a lot of cover 1 and cover 3, I want a guy who likes playing around the line of scrimmage, who can play up against tight ends, has that physicality, and can play a little bit of the slot in man coverage. And that is none other than Antoine Winfield Jr. And I know, guys, I know Talanoa Hufanga is fantastic, but in this specific role, I would rather Antoine Winfield Jr. And on top of that, I do think that there is a little bit more variance in Hufanga's performance. I think he's a fantastic playmaker, but he also got beat quite a few times in that San Francisco defense and allowed big plays. That's something that Antoine Winfield Jr. does a better job of not allowing. And I think that is a man coverage safety corner slot in the slot. I think that he is the better fit for this football team. And for my free safety, it's the only guy under 25 that I think is a true free safety in the NFL. Vic Fangio is going to have a blast with him, and that is Miami Dolphins safety Jevon Holland. And that rounds out all 22 starters in the under 25 team. It was with a heavy heart that I had to leave so many talented players off of this football team. But that's the way it goes. You have to build a roster, and there are only 22 spots to choose from. Guys, I know that there's going to be some disagreement. Let me know in the comments why you disagree. And let's have a little bit of a dialogue about why I chose who I chose, on top of what I offered in my explanations. Now, before we get out of here, make sure that you guys are liking this video. Make sure that you guys are subscribing to the channel. Make sure that you guys are smashing the bell so you don't miss out on any of the content that we have coming for you guys in the future. But until then, I'm Dalton Miller. Have a nice day.